This is ABC7 News This Morning.
Well, as the reality of Osama bin Laden's death begins to sink in, the world is waiting to see how it affects the U.S. relations involving the Muslim community in America and, of course, overseas.
Ahmed Rehab is the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations right here in Chicago, and he joins us this morning. We're so glad to have you with us.
Good morning.
It's my pleasure to be in the studio. Thank you.
First of all, let's go to your reaction when you heard the news. What did you think?
I was very relieved, and I had a sense of vindication. I felt it was a long time coming, but justice delayed is better than justice denied, so I'll take it.
Okay, now there is a lot of controversy, as I'm sure you know, right now about whether the U.S. government should release photos of his body. What is your thinking on that?
You know, I think it's an equation that needs to be balanced. On one end, people do want proof or evidence. We had a President Bush, who told us there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and that turned out not to be true. He said we made a mistake. So people want to see evidence. There's going to be skeptics, there are going to be conspiracy theories. On the other hand, you don't want to release gory, bloody photos and then incite emotional, responses that could lead to violence against Americans or the United States. So I think the government has to weigh the options on both sides.
There's been so much. It's been such a tightrope, too, because the reaction from people here in the country is a lot of times it's taken out on the Islamic community here in the States. Do you think something like this will rekindle that kind of stuff?
You know, I think I really appreciate President Obama's statement. That,
it was well done.
Yeah, I mean, he made it clear we're not at war with Islam. Bin Laden does not represent Muslims. He's not the leader of Muslims. He's not an elected leader of Muslims. And indeed, Islam is not at war with the United States. So, unfortunately, there are those who confuse things and who see all of Muslims as being somehow represented by Bin Laden. That's obviously not true. He's an enemy not just to us as Americans, but to us as Muslims. He's an enemy of Islam as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, very well said. And what about this burial at sea for his body? There was also some question about whether that is with Islamic traditions.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's really the goal here. If it were, he would be buried in the ground, and that would be the first option for someone killed on land, is to be buried back into the soil from dust to dust. But I think the reason why he was basically dumped into the ocean is because the government did not want to create a shrine that would be like a martyr, a place for him to be visited by others that would emulate him or in any way be inspired by his, tomb or shrine, which I can appreciate. But I wouldn't quite say that it's because of Islamic tradition.
Okay.
You represent a lot of groups, a lot of people here in the Chicago area. What's the overall feeling right now? We talked about your personal feeling, but what's the overall feeling?
Well, I think the entire Muslim community is happy with this news. Again, bin Laden was the single most individual who is most damaging to the image of Islam, both domestically and globally. So we're relieved that he's out of the way. We represent our own community, our work, our families, our ethics, our values, and not someone like bin Laden who's considered to be an outlaw within the Muslim community, somebody who is obviously a terrorist, somebody who does not represent our values and our ethics. So we're glad he's out of the way. And we hope that, the conversation can move forward between neighbors, between friends, as Muslims and as non-Muslims in America.
Oh, man, always good to talk to you.
It's always a pleasure to be on.
Thank you for coming in this morning. We really appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back.